Here's the Spurs News Roundup with me, Harry Scarfe, for Tuesday the 26th of August 2025, provide you with the latest Tottenham news headlines in the last 24 hours. That's how the first part of the video works, going through your headlines. Second part of the video, what I call analysis, the dissection part, dissecting every single story and giving my opinion, and also where I like to get you involved. But if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. Thank you for all the support recently. So let's get straight into it with your Tottenham headlines. Reminder, these videos will continue even after the transfer window closes, so no better time to like and subscribe. 6 Tottenham representatives firstly were named in Sky Sports Fananalysis Team of the Week. They were Christian Romero, Mickey van der Ven, Jed Spence, João Palhinha, Pape Sarr, so 5 players, and also manager Thomas Frank being the 6th. Next, João Palhinha has spoken about scoring against Manchester City, saying it was a special moment for me, of course, returning to the Premier League and scoring a goal like this. It's always special and really important. What I need to take from this game is that mentality of the team and the way I saw my teammates running behind, helping each other. This is what makes me proud of this game, to be honest. For me, sometimes a tackle is more important or has the same importance as a goal. I remember this, but I also remember the tackle that Mickey did on a transition, and that kind of action is what makes the difference. At the end of the game, you see that mentality, and that's why we push each other. Because I think when we are like that, we're much closer to winning games. Next, on this day in 2023, James Maddison scored his first Tottenham goal in our win away at Bournemouth 2-0 victory. Paul O'Keefe reports that Tottenham did bid, in fact, for Scarfe. It's 100% true. Today, Tottenham have officially released their third kit on the club website, now available to buy. The club haven't promoted it at the time of recording. Alistair Gold via Football London reports that Adama Lookman is an attacking player that Spurs and various sides have been offered at his time at Atalanta. Appears to be coming to an end at the moment. And Monaco's Magnus Aklios is someone who Tottenham have been tracking in recent seasons, and the exciting 23-year-old who can play out wide or centrally is on the radar of plenty of clubs across Europe, one of them being Tottenham. Alistair Gold via Football London also said that Spurs are long-time admirers of Aston Villa's Morgan Rogers, along with most of the big Premier League clubs, but suggestions of a successful move being launched have been played down. Rogers has a long-term contract at Villa Park until 2030. Next, the REOAS report that Manchester City target Rodrigo is going to stay at Real Madrid. Decision made, saga over. This was City's ideal Savinho replacement if they sold him to Tottenham. Multiple reports have stated that City would only sell if they could find a replacement. Richarlison's been called up to the Brazil national squad for the upcoming international break. Bild report that Chelsea and Arsenal are showing concrete interest in Tottenham target Pierre Scarfe. Next, Di Maurizo via Sky Sports News reports that Tottenham Hotspur made a final bid for Nico Pass worth an initial €65 million plus a further €10 million in add-ons. Como decided to reject the bid after consulting Real Madrid first. Spurs are unlikely to increase their offer any further. The Athletic UK reports that Tottenham Hotspur's hopes of convincing Manchester City to compensate them selling Savinho rests now on Rodrigo and Real Madrid. For that to materialise, Rodrigo would need to tell Madrid that he wants to go, and this has not happened to date. Next, Como's president has spoken about Nico Pass, saying that Tottenham Hotspur never sent formal bids for Nico Pass. He said it's not true that we rejected a proposal. Nobody makes an offer knowing that we must forward it to Real Madrid, who can match it. At that point, we feared Nico Pass could return to Real Madrid. He was raised in the Real Madrid academy and dreams of playing at the Bernabeu one day. Mail Sport report the Tottenham Hotspur are monitoring developments with Lucas Paquetá this week. The player is open to leaving West Ham for a Champions League club. Sportivo report that Tottenham are understood to be preparing a last-ditch attempt of a bid worth around €80 million for Como central attacking midfielder Nico Pass. Any deal for Pass looks increasingly complicated to complete at this stage. The Standard Sport report that Tottenham want to sign at least 2 new players before the summer transfer window ends next week. The club are focusing on recruiting a number 10 and a winger, whilst they'd also like to add a centre-back too, but that is not a priority. TalkSport report that Tottenham Hotspur are considering a move for West Ham United midfielder Lucas Paquetá. Graham Potter does not want to lose him, but West Ham would consider bids that exceed £60 million for the midfielder. Next, a report from several sources, including the Daily Telegraph, report that Yves Bissouma is set to join Galatasaray and leave Tottenham. Negotiations are at a final stage between Tottenham Hotspur and Galatasaray for the transfer of the midfielder. Personal terms have also been agreed with the player. Bissouma will leave Spurs on initial loan with an obligation to buy. Tottenham under-21s take on Bristol Rovers this evening for the Venner Trophy, 7pm kickoff at the Memorial Stadium. David Allstein reports that Tottenham's chances at convincing Manchester City to sell them Savinho rest on the replacement Rodrigo, who's informed Real Madrid that he wants to leave. This has not happened to date. Next, breaking news from several sources, including Give Me Sport, states that Fabio Paratici to return to Tottenham in an official role. An agreement is already in place for him to start in the role starting no later than the 1st of October. He will return to lead recruitment just as he did previously. Quick reminder, Fabio Paratici's signings from when he was previously Tottenham's director of football, and several sources report the following fee that I'm going to say. So 2021-2022 season, Piero Gallini, loan, the Italian goalkeeper, Spanish Brian Gill, 21.6 million plus Eric Lamela, Christian Romero loan plus £42.5 million, Pape Matar, £14.6 million, Emerson Royale, £25.7 million, Dejan Kulusevski, £10.5 million loan plus £25 million, Rodrigo Bentancur, £21.6 million. 2022-23 season, got even Perisic free, Fraser Forster free, Yves Bissouma 35 million, Richarlison 60 million, Clement Longley loan, Destiny Udogie 18 million, Jed Spence 20 million, Arnaut Danjuma 2.5 million loan, Pedro Porro 6 million loan plus £33.5 million buy, Vicario 17.2 million, James Maddison 40 million, Manor Solomon free, Ashley Phillips 2 million, Mickey van der Ven 43 million, Alejo Valise 13.4 million, Brennan Johnson 47.5 million, and last but not least, caught offside report that Tottenham are lining up a shock swoop. Try saying that at quick speed for Chelsea transfer target Xavi Simons of RB Leipzig, who's expected to leave Leipzig before the end of the window for its slam shut in just a few days' time. So those are your Tottenham headlines in the last 24 hours. Let's go through and pick them one by one. We're picking out the majority of them here. So we start with the one about Sky Sports and the fan analysis team of the week. Good to see 6 Tottenham players in there. And for people who haven't seen the fan analysis of Sky's team, it goes Pickford, Timber, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence, Sarr, Paulinho, I think it says Cullen there. Yeah, it does. Yao Pedro, Grocarez, and Jack Grealish with Thomas Frank being the manager. So it's great to have representation in that. It really tells me that it was a really solid defensive display because Sarr, Paulinho, Spence, Van der Ven, Romero are all important in terms of a defensive point of view, with some being midfielder, Thomas Frank as well. I mean, work to be done off the pitch in the transfer window, but a good week on the pitch. So what else we got? I mean, James Maddison's watching this goal back. He scored in 2023. It was great by Sarr. Lovely little dink from Maddison and past the goalkeeper, slotted in the corner. Interesting that Paul O'Keefe contradicting several reports from top sources saying Tottenham did bid for Hincapié, and we heard from BBC, Mail Sport, Standard Sport that Tottenham adamant they didn't bid. They didn't say that Tottenham hadn't. They're just saying that from Tottenham they've said that they hadn't. I really love the third kit. It's been released. There's a picture of Brennan Johnson wearing it. I mean, I really like it. I mean, Priority's got to be doing something in the transfer window, but I do really like the kit. And looking at it here, I mean, I really like the retro badge, and they've got it in the middle. The AIA is blue. The blue and yellow just goes really well. I'd argue that maybe it should be a bit of a darker yellow, but okay, the yellow's fine. The only thing I would say is that, much I like the retro logo, instead of wanting it here, I'd want it personally here with a Nike badge, which is there. It's all a bit, I don't know, it doesn't quite look right, but I do really like it. And for me to say this, by the way, that I like the kit is a big thing for myself personally, because I always never take the kits to start with. I don't like you guys, but I grow into the kit as the season goes on. So for me, that's already an 8, 9 out of 10 kit. They'll probably grow on me even more. Adama Lookman, I really like that. I think it's a very good option. I think Everton made a mistake to let him go. I mean, I'd like to sign Lookman. I mean, when you hear the name like Lookman, they don't really want anyone else. I think he'd be fantastic. Maybe a player that's not... Some players aren't right for the Premier League. Remember that. I don't want to compare him to Brian Gill, but Brian Gill's a good example of someone who isn't right for the Premier League. Magnasak Gayosh, another name that we keep hearing. But I don't want us to panic buy and get the signing wrong. I mean, Lookman would be the left winger. Gayosh would be the attacking midfielder. I do think that we end up getting probably both, but it'll probably be a panic buy. That's the problem. I mean, I'm not even going to entertain too much the Morgan Rogers discussion. As I said before on the channel, he'd be fantastic. Probably the best 10 out there available, or he's not easily available in the market, one of the best 10s in the Premier League that would even be a possibility. The only reason it's a possibility is maybe there's a little bit of pressure, tiny bit of pressure on Villa to sell, because in particular PSR. But selling Ramsey, they'd ideally not want to sell Rodgers as well. And I think Villa are in a place where I think they're going to struggle this season under Unai Emery. They haven't strengthened, they've gone backwards, it's no secret, and they haven't had the start of the season they would have wanted. I personally think this is the end for the Savinho situation. I think Real Madrid were hanging on to the fact they wanted Rodrigo. I don't see Savinho going anywhere. I don't see Tottenham paying up either. That's the problem. Congratulations to Richarlison being called up. Absolutely deserves it. Great start to the season. He should not just only be called up, but be Brazil's starting striker still. Hincapié again doesn't look like it's going to happen. Bid rejected. I don't think Tottenham will come back. Same for Nico Pass, who we move on to swiftly now. I mean, he's always going to go to Real Madrid eventually. And just, when you have Cameroon's president speak about it, there's no approach from Tottenham. He wants to join Real Madrid eventually. I mean, it's very obvious. It's just not going to happen, is it? It's just an absolute no. So unfortunately, it's just nothing's going to happen there. There's no need to really speak about it. Of course, I think he's a really special player, special free kick he scored. Lewis Paquetá, I think it would be another good option. Fancy another West Ham raid. I think surely he'd be looking at for a move away from West Ham. Again, I think they are probably better out there, but I think he's a very, very good option, or maybe would prefer him personally to someone like an Akliosha. I don't know quite as well. What have we got in here? Standard Sports saying Tottenham want to sign these 2 new players. Centre-back's not a priority. But if we let Vuskovic go on loan, it should be a priority, because Dance's the only fit centre-back. Dragsin, I believe, according to reports anyway, is a little bit away from returning. Takai's still injured. We let Dorrington and Phillips go out on loan. So it should be a priority. I mean, why have we got to this stage? We've got to this stage where Frank's like, I think we're going to improve the squad. I like the squad. And now he's like, I'm confident we might sign a player. We've gone from 2 or 3 players that we might sign a player. Frank's like, I believe we signed a player for the end of the window. And when you start saying that 3 or 4 weeks to go, and we got to now as well, it's just incredibly frustrating that we haven't replaced Son. You're not being funny, he left ages ago. If someone, I know he's right for him to go for me, and he's not the player he once was, still to not replace someone like Son is absolutely criminal. We haven't replaced Heung-min Son or Harry Kane, really, if you deeply think about it. And that for me is unforgivable, I would argue. I don't think there's any way that is acceptable. It took us how long it took to replace Harry Kane, so arguably haven't to this day. Then Maddison getting injured with the ACL, over a month ago. Arsenal find a replacement. I don't want to compare us to them, but they find a replacement instantly. Just a little bit of ambition, but Potter won't want to lose him. You can see Potter walking out, or it all going wrong, even worse than it is now if he leaves. Bissouma, I think that's really sad that he's leaving, and although I think it's probably the right thing, I mean, firstly, thank you, Bissouma, for all that you've given your service. I think 2 really good games that he had that stick out to me are the Europa League semi-final and Europa League final against Manchester United, getting us over the line in the Europa League, but Tottenham career is going to be shadowed by inconsistency, which is a real shame. We've seen glimpses of what he's capable of, but it's that inconsistency which will sum up his Tottenham career. But I just worry that we're left short with no obvious cover. People say, Paulinho is a replacement, but the way you should look at it, Paulinho should be extra cover. It should be, Paulinho should be, signed as an extra body, and Bissouma should be the cover. But it's frustrating, like 1 in, 1 out. Sometimes you need both. You need a squad. And I wouldn't, as much as I think Bissouma would go, the fact it's a loan with an obligation, it'd be interesting to see how much that obligation is. But no, it is a shame. I don't know what I would have done, again, because it really depends on the offer. If that obligation's 10 million, I would have been like, really? Come on, Spurs, be ambitious and keep him as a backup. But at the same time, I don't like his attitude. I've said it before on the channel in recent updates that, from reports that he turned up late, and Frank said it as well, so it's not just reports, it's factual. Turning up late, that isn't acceptable for me, and he's always going to be inconsistent. Real shame, because I thought we got a really good deal at the time we signed him from Brighton. Just never really worked out for Tottenham in his Tottenham shirt anyway, so it's a real shame. At the time recording, the under-21s are about to kick off, or just have kicked off, so I wish them all the best in that game, trying to win the trophy. What have we got? Savinho, we spoke about that. I don't think it's going to happen. Fabio Paratici, this is a really good thing. I think he's done good and bad things to the club. It feels like, a very good signing. It's the bomber that we wanted, but I know a few feel negatively about it. Some people the critics will go, okay, look, we've got Gil, Danjuma, Longleg, Galini, Bissouma, Royale, but don't forget the good ones, Vicario, Bentancur, Kulusevski. His recruitment was spot on, and I think that I'd absolutely welcome him back in the club. Being lead recruitment, there's no reason that him and Johan Lange could work together. And like Lange, there's good things and bad things, but I think Fabio Paratici's time at the club should be summed up to being very good. I think the appointment of Antonio Conte maybe not quite as good, but at the same time did get us in the Champions League, so it's difficult. But for me, what stands out is that's January where we signed Kulusevski and Bentancur. That really stood out to me. A fantastic recruitment. Vicario, Van de Ven, Romero. There's some good names in there, but the mistakes were made. There's no secret about it. Look at Johan Lange. As soon as he left Villa, they signed Rashford and Asensio on loan. Neither were made permanent, but they're really good and really helped Villa be competitive again in that second half of last season. But at the same time, when he was there, they made some really good signings. Emi Martinez, but also made some really bad ones. Clement Longley being another. So it's really difficult. And Langer's the same with Tottenham. It's really good and bad things, generally bad. So I think they can work together. I do strongly believe that. And Xavi Simons, we've had this before, haven't we? I think probably from the exact same source, but I'm not going to entertain it too much because Xavi Simons seems to have his heart set on Chelsea. So I don't think Tottenham is going to happen, but that is the Spurs news roundup. Provide you the latest top news all in one place and full analysis for Tuesday, the 26th of August, 2025. Get involved in the comments below. Anything you heard in today's video, any story or any opinion of mine, I'll always read and reply to your comments. But now for a massive come on you Spurs.